joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show for the first time as a solo act on this program. We last had him on when the actor John Schneider from Dukes of Hazzard fame was on, and we had this man call him. But now it's just him. He's running this show like he runs the Seattle Seahawks. John Schneider, the general manager, here on the program. How are you, John?
Good, Rich. How you guys doing? I hope you're feeling better, my man.
We appreciate you doing this, man, and I appreciate your sentiments. And I know you don't do this.
Is Bo Duke? Is Bo going to be on?
No, there's no Duke. And by the way, there's no Hazard. It's all green lights here, man. We're all green lights. And let's hop in this car and start driving it and having a good time.
Let's go.
Let's get right. Let's start talking about you signing the Prez, who's one of my favorite people in the NFL, Jamal Adams. Walk me through that process and you bestowing him with the seemingly richest contract for safety in the NFL. John Schneider.
Well, it's awesome. We're glad to get it done. When we traded for him last year, we promised him that before we made the trade that we'd extend him in the off season, and it was a long process, but at the end of the day, we got there. Everybody's extremely excited, and he's a very unique player, as you know. Guy can rush the passer and is extremely explosive. Just brings a huge energy. And great for the locker room, great for the building. He was here. He was treating our staff great, working with the coaches and everything as we were trying to negotiate a deal.
Yeah, I mean, he plays everywhere. I mean, you just don't know where he's going to wind up. And he's in the backfield almost as much as he's in the secondary. And, I love the guy. I really do. I've grown up in New York City, and he's a locker room guy that can change a culture. Obviously, you don't need that, but you can use his energy in a certain way, and it's a W all around as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel it already, actually, Rich. I mean, he's had 2 days out here where he's just been, extremely excited, obviously, and just with the players, just been great. So, yeah, we're excited to get that done.
So, what does a general manager do middle of the preseason? Like, what is your day like? I know you laugh, but I want to know exactly where you are with roster cuts and rosters and looking around the league, and walk me through what the process is like for somebody like yourself. You're 12, I believe, right, as the GM of the Seahawks. What is this like for you?
Yeah. So really, for us, it's all about every day. How do we improve? When we always talk about winning the day, right? So how are we going to get better every single day? Our staff now we have games this year. We have one preseason weekend in. We had the first Hall of Fame game, but which gets over-scouted more than any other game in NFL history, by the way, all the time, because it's just the one game. But
yes.
No, we have all of our guys on our staff here. We have a great personnel staff, and just studying our team every day and studying other teams' weaknesses, strengths, and communicating with other teams and seeing if we can work on trades and who may be available at the 53 cut. This year's a little bit unique because we have the 3 games and we cut down 5 after the first 2, and then we go to 53 from there. But having the 16 practice squad players really helps us, and so it's really kind of what we're doing is studying our team every day and then trying to create a landscape for the whole season. And when I say that, I mean, what does December look like? What does November look like in order to add depth at specific positions and provide the coaches and with the top, what we believe are the top players available.
And you have meetings with Pete about this. I mean, walk me through that with your head coach.
Yeah, So Pete and I talk about our team every day, pretty much, and
right.
We'll talk about everything that's going on, every positions we're concerned about. We don't have a level of complacency. Obviously, you've seen that over the years, Rich.
Yes.
We're constantly working at it. We're constantly talking about where we can improve. And, as we talk about in the draft process, we never feel like we have all the answers. So we always feel like that improves our communication. And so what do we look like on the offensive line? What do we look like at receiver? And, if this person, then not that person. So it's always kind of creating this short-term landscape for the coaches and then long-term for the personnel staff so that we can have people ready in spots that where guys are ready to take over it at any position if called upon, because you never know when, a rash of injuries are going to hit you.
John Schneider, General Manager, Executive VP of the Seattle Seahawks here on the Rich Eisen Show. And you're kind of a hyphenate guest, too, for me, John, because we know a lot of people in common.
Right.
You're tight with my buddy Jeff Schaefer, who's he's a hyphenate for Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Dave, the show Dave, and so
absolutely.
So I hear from a lot of people, hey, you got to have John.
Great guy.
He is a great guy. He's a funny guy. How come you haven't been in Curb yet?
He's still celebrating his 50th birthday, I think, by the way.
But it's like a Lollapalooza. We understand that. But you have not been on. How come you haven't been on Curb? How has that not happened? Have you been on? Did I miss it?
No, have not. I was on the League, which was a total blast for us because when you play yourself as an actor, it's amazing. I haven't got any checks lately though, so you got to give him some credit about that.
You haven't gotten your residuals? I still get some from my appearance.
My residuals, yeah. Yeah, the last one was like $62, I think.
It's a good one.
I'm like, where are they at?
I know that.
So, unless my wife's hiding them from keeping them from me, I don't know.
So not only do we have similar people in common, but also you're a newsmaker, and you're somebody in the NFL who can also help me out with Pete here. I think I pissed him off a little bit when he was on my show. In the summer. I don't know. I don't think. Look,
I don't know if you can pit.
I know that. You know what? How about this then? How about this one?
Down a little bit.
Okay, I might have rubbed him the wrong way a couple times. Where I brought up Russell. Okay. I brought up Russell Wilson to him and what Russell was saying back in the spring, and he called it old news. He called it old news, and I don't think he really wanted me to bring it up or talk because it was old news. And I said, yeah, but we haven't spoken since then. And then he allowed the answer. So I just want to make sure Pete and I are fine, because there was another time I kind of I think I might have rubbed him the wrong way also, which I'll get to.
Well, he didn't say anything to me about it,
okay.
So I think you're okay. If
Thank goodness on that.
He would definitely come to my office and discuss it.
I'm sure that's at the top of his list.
We know that.
What's going on?
No, I think you did. No,
all right. So
all I would say about that, Rich, is that everything's great now. I mean, Russ is a guy that look. Passionate people say passionate things, right? And so at the end of the season, the thing that I told people, behind closed doors is, Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson during a season don't have the ability to sit back and evaluate, the big picture like the rest of us do. And so, it's our job, it's my job in particular to be in our staff to be looking at what's coming, what's happening in the future. So what happens is, when you lose a game like we lost to the Rams, all of a sudden, these guys have been embedded every single week on a schedule for how many weeks, throughout a season, and all of a sudden it's like they kind of come up from, they're just like waking up, right? They're like, wow, what do we do now to fix the team? How do we get better? And so, Russ is a extremely hard worker, extremely passionate guy. He wants to win the world championship every single year like we do, and we approach our jobs, like I said, every day. Like, we want to be a consistent championship caliber football team for our fans, because we feel like if we're not doing the things to improve our team, if you don't give your fans hope, look, I grew up in Green Bay, and so like there was many times like I didn't see a winning team until I was like 19, 20 years old, I think. So I was always wanted the Packers, like whoever was working over there, to have this attitude, like, hey, like what are we doing every single day to get better, and how are we going to improve? And I think that's what you see at the end of every season. It's not just Russell or Pete. It's every organization. It's personnel staff has to kind of incorporate with the coaches, where you're going. And our philosophy is that we've done it the same way for, like you said, 12 years now, where, how are we going to be a competitive or how are we going to be a consistent championship caliber football team every single year where your fans are excited. And so that's what drives it. And I think that's what you saw. Now, was there a huge media blitz? Sure. And, the best thing you can do, the guys that taught me well, are just to sit back and listen and watch. And that's what we did. Well,
I mean, part of the narrative, John Schneider, GM and Executive Vice President of the Seattle Seahawks, joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Part of the narrative, John, was also Russ sitting there at the Super Bowl where he had just won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and well-deserved. watching Tom Brady win it all. And you know, in your old Stomping Grounds in Green Bay, the narrative is, again, a quarterback who wants things a certain way and believes that his say should be louder in the room than it is perceived to the player. That was the general sense of things. You're a general manager. How do you view the viewpoint of your star quarterback in terms of, you doing your job and getting the roster as potentially the quarterback?
Well, much like everybody else's, I mean, we're a wide open organization. I mean, really, we always talk about having no walls. We talked about that. I've worked with organizations where, the personnel guys aren't allowed to talk to the scouts, and the personnel staff are not allowed to talk to the coaches on a daily basis, or, some teams don't let their scouts go to practice, or, that's not us. We all work together. We have a great staff downstairs with our player development people and equipment and trainers and our sports science staff. We just had a really cool meeting yesterday where everybody's talking about what can we do to help everybody that's here, improve. And so with that, I would say, you're definitely going to be listening and taking everybody's opinions. And I look at it very much like, when we're preparing for the draft and we go from having, call it 30 people in the room to 15 as we get closer to the draft, to 10, and then a couple nights before the draft, it's just, or like 2 nights before the draft, it's just Pete and I, and then the night before the draft, it's just myself. So you're constantly listening, studying, getting everybody's opinions, and players, guys especially that are so passionate about studying, like a Bobby Wagner and a Russell Wilson, and,
right.
and they watch so much film, they're in the mix. They can tell you things that other people can't necessarily tell you. That's why I like having former players on our staff as well, because they can tell you certain things that we may not see, or just where our blind spots are.
Another moment, John Schneider.
That doesn't mean you're always gonna agree, right?
Right.
So, you listen, you communicate, and you make, at the end of the day, people have to make decisions, and my job is to listen and work with Pete and keep steering this ship the way we have.
Another moment, John Schneider, where I do believe Pete bristled when I brought up his. I went there. I brought up his age. Because he is, as Jim Brockmeyer called, the world's oldest teenager. Is that what he called him? The world's oldest teenager.
Now that Dick Clark is no longer with us.
Now that Dick Clark's no longer with us. That's what Jim Brockmeyer, the famed announcer, said. I brought that up to him and how much longer he wants to do it, and then I immediately regretted it because I heard it in his voice. Like, what are you trying to do, Rich? Is what he said. I think that's what he said. What can you tell me about Pete's long-term future?
About working with him every day? Yeah, it's been the same. So he's 20 years older than me, and there are many days where I feel like I'm 20 years older than him.
Right.
He is just a ball of energy. His brain is going 1,000 miles an hour. Enthusiastic, positive. If you walk in, he calls my office the dentist office because I'll have like smooth jazz on, watercolors, trying to chill out and study and listen to people, try to get the stress off, right?
Dentist office.
You go in his office, you go in his office, and it's like you got music playing, you got 3 different TVs going. He's studying film, and he's trying to talk to you at the same time, and I always have to say, hey, can we just mute this or turn this down, because I can't. My brain does not work like yours.
Right.
But no, he's great, man. He just keeps going and going and going, and you wouldn't know it. Is like my point. Like, he's out there throwing the football. He's got a bad shoulder. He's throwing the ball. Like, I'm like, what are you doing, man? He's just awesome.
So he's going to be the coach there for a long time, John. Right? Like,
I would think. Yeah. I have no reason not to think he wouldn't be.
Okay. Before I let you go, I'd love a story about DK Metcalf, about the first time you saw him, about anything. I'm so fascinated by him. My kids can't get enough of him, just because, not only because they love him on their fantasy teams, but the different hair color, his choice of mouth guard. I mean, like, literally everything about him is fascinating to young and old. And I would love a story,
right?
Anything that you could tell me about when you knew, you thought you knew, anything. I'll give you the floor on that, if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, my son says he's hilarious on Instagram too. I guess. So
okay,
I guess
great. That's good to know.
The kids think he's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Right.
So
that's a good one.
But I would think with him, he was such an interesting study because he absolutely blew up the combine. So he had so much hype around him. There were aspects of his game where everybody, kind of picked him apart. Our staff in particular was really excited about, just the pure intangibles in his work ethic. I think, having his father play in the league, there's a level of maturity about him. And so when he was still available, we made that move with the Jets or the Patriots, to go get him. And just to see you always want to have buy-in from the coaching staff when you make a decision like that. And so, we had a bunch of stuff going on, and Pete was like, "Whoa!" He's like, "Johnny, we're on the clock. We're on the clock again." I'm like, "Yeah, we just traded with New England. We're gonna take Metcalf right here," and he's like, "Metcalf's gonna be on our team?" I'm like, yeah, buddy, we're gonna take Metcalf right here, and then the whole room just like exploded. Like he's like, "Hey guys, we're taking Metcalf. We got Metcalf." And so I think that excitement where you have the buy-in from your coaching staff. So usually you've seen the clips where we call the guys all the time, and some guys are really excited, some guys aren't. He was very emotional. Kind of pissed, obviously, that he wasn't taken earlier. But I would say, just like initially, that would be like a thought that comes to my head, or a story that comes to my head about him, because having the buy-in from the coaches to really want to work with this guy and try to help him be the best he can possibly be.
Well, the first I saw him was at the Combine when he did jump out of the building and run out of the building and lift out of the building and did all that. But he also, I believe it was his mom who he then FaceTimed right away, because of the neck injury that caused him to maybe think that he's not going to have a career, and then his decision to leave when he did, with everybody questioning whether he was viable or not, and he crushed it at the Combine, and he got all emotional. I will never forget that. And then, the story about what apparently happened with Jim Schwartz, before the game in Philadelphia, where he said he reminded him of Calvin, and he used that as fire to go torch them. He's just a totally different kind of player, it seems to me.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen the clip of Pete taking his shirt off when, our guy Aaron Heinlein got DK to take his shirt off for Pete to walk in the room because he wanted us to draft him so bad. So he came walking in, and Pete was like, "Holy smokes!" So Pete took his shirt off. That was a pretty fun moment too. But the guy's really passionate. He works his tail off and wants to be great. And doesn't compare himself to other people. That's a question that we always ask guys. So it's a standard, like, well, who do you emulate or whatever, And he's like, "Hey, I don't necessarily emulate anybody. I just want to be the best I can possibly be." And he's again, his father having played in the league has really helped him. I think that gives guys a huge advantage coming out of school.
John, thanks for the time, man. Really appreciate it. Would love to do this as much as you're up for doing. And tell Pete I said hi. That he looks great with his shirt off.
Yeah,
I'll
see if he's pissed at you. Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Again, I'm sensitive. I'm a sensitive on-air talent, man. That's what they call me, at least to my face. Even behind my back, it's probably worse. But I appreciate.
Did you ever do the thing with DK where you ran, where they showed you running and where he would be in the 40 compared to you?
Let's just put it this way: it didn't look good for me, but that's okay. But we tried.
Were you at the 20? Or 20? Where were you?
Thank you for saying 20. My God, 25? I was at the 2. I mean, but we did. The network did try to match it up with me running as he was running down Buda Baker too. And that was that was unfortunate for me as well. But it's all good because, like I said, I can't get enough of that guy, man. I just cannot get enough of DK Metcalf, and I'm going to stop talking about him because
he's fun.
Because somebody might take him in my fantasy league.
He partners up. He partners up with one of the most underrated players in the National Football League too, and Tyler Lockett. And Tyler's such a quiet dude, and it's amazing that it was a big re-sign for us this year to extend him. So, anyway, I hope you're feeling better, Rich.
Thanks, John. I really appreciate that sentiment and this phone call. You take care. You be well.
All right, take care.
It's John Schneider, EVP, GM, Seattle Seahawks. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.